everyone, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us today is Mark Ellis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Collider Movie Talk on Taco Tuesday. This is the daily show where, like Natasha said, we get to talk movies with you guys, the fans, here from our studio in Burbank, California. My name is Mark. Natasha, who are the chipmunks joining me today?
Our first chipmunk is John Schnepp.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? So happy to be here on a Tuesday.
And our second chipmunk, Kristian Harloff.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, don't let your kids jump in the pool when you're not looking. It's not fun.
Can you please finish that story?
I don't want to finish that.
She's
story.
okay,
Horrible.
right?
She's fine, but man,
you can't just say, man, my kid went in the pool and I wasn't looking.
Oh,
Back
no,
to you,
hey,
Natasha.
pink ball.
You know, it's a big story. He jumped in the pool to save his kid with his cell phone, so his cell phone wasn't working, and then miraculously started working the next day.
It's a great excuse for him not texting me all weekend.
It's the truth, man. It wasn't fun.
Okay, well, look, before we get started with the rundown today, we have some breaking news in the form of a brand new trailer, ladies and gentlemen, for the Alice in Wonderland movie that's coming out, a movie that I'm not really that excited about, but we have a trailer reaction review starring John Schnepp and Dennis Singh that's going to be up on Collider Video a little bit later today. So, Schnepp, I want to ask you first, you just reacted to it. What did you think of the brand new Alice Through the Looking Glass trailer?
It was great. Jefferson Airplane busts out with the Don't Ask Alice, that amazing drug-fueled song. I felt I was on drugs the entire time I was watching the trailer, so honestly, it looked like a really fun visual experience. That's all I could really say about it. You know, I wasn't a big fan of the first Alice, this remake of Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter. I felt it was just a little, but the visuals were really great. And this one looks like it took a little hint from that, up the visuals, super trippy, very weird. Added, Sacha Baron Cohen as like the weird timekeeper, freaky time master, whatever the hell he's going to be. So it looks like a lot of fun, but she should be on drugs when you see it.
I mean, maybe it was a Freudian slip that I called it Alice Through the Looking Grass. Kristian, did you feel like you were on drugs?
No, but you know what? I think that the movie looks similar to the first one. Obviously, they want it to look similar, but it also needs to look a little different because it's not Tim Burton this go around. So
needs to be better. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be better. But I think that they're aware of that. I'm hopeful for this one too. I'm one of the few people that, even though I acknowledge the first movie wasn't great, I enjoyed watching it in the theater. But I understand people's complaints of the film. But I actually think this one could be a lot better. As I think sometimes where Tim Burton wants to go into the ultra weird, Alice in Wonderland lends itself to the ultra weird.
Yeah.
But I just think that maybe Tim Burton pulling back a little bit and just serving as a producer might benefit it because I like what I see so far.
Yeah, I didn't like the first Alice in Wonderland movie that much. I didn't hate it either, but it felt like something I didn't want to be experiencing for 2 hours or however long it was. And this trailer felt the same way to me. I agree, Schnepp. It was a great music video for Jefferson Airplane, but I don't know that I want to be locked in that theater for that long going through all these weird-looking images. It's cool in small doses, but the things I did like about the first one, I liked about this trailer. I love Helena Bonham Carter.
It could be better in big doses.
Big doses are don't do too many drugs, kids. That's what this movie makes me feel like, is that I'm high and I don't want to feel that way for that long. I just want to be a little drunk. All right, Natasha, that's our review of the Alice trailer.
Just say no.
Just say no, kids.
Just
What's our
say
first
yes.
official story today?
And a very odd move by Warner Brothers that has the fans buzzing about new possibilities for the DC universe, a deleted scene from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice has been revealed to the world. The plot-centric scene offers a look at Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor inside General Zod's crashed ship, seemingly communicating with an unknown beast from another world. Fans of the comics believe this to be a nod to the comic character of Steppenwolf, the uncle to supervillain Darkseid. The monster is also holding what appears to be mother boxes, objects of mysterious power that also have a Darkseid connection. It is unknown why Warner Brothers decided to cut this scene out of the movie. Batman v Superman is now playing at a theater near you. Mark, what do you think of this deleted scene?
Well, I love that we referenced Jefferson Airplane and Steppenwolf in the first two stories today. We do want to let you guys know that this story and another story coming a little bit later might contain some spoilers for Batman versus Superman. So if you've not seen the movie yet, tread lightly on the Dawn of Justice deleted scene we're about to talk about. And then when we talk about The Flash, just an FYI so you guys know. Once we're done done talking about that, the sidebar will light up with the Disney v Comic-Con, and then you can come back to your favorite spoiler-free show. Until then, let's get into what we have to do, which is spoilers on the show, Kristian. When we're talking about this deleted scene, why do you think this deleted scene, A, was cut from the movie, and B, do you think it should have been cut from the movie?
I really have to. I was watching this, and I was like, "This is a really cool scene," and I think that it adds a lot to the storytelling of what the ultimate mission of what Lex Luthor was going for. So, no, I don't think it should be cut out. I think there could have been a lot of other things that were cut out of the movie that weren't. That you could have left this in and furthered it. So, especially because they are universe building, and they left a lot of stuff inside of the movie, Easter eggs that was Easter eggs and help building the universe. It wasn't like, this isn't. It was one thing if there wasn't anything else that was thrown in there. That was like, well, we're putting this in there because this is going to set up the universe later on down the line. That was in there. If it was just like, we need to focus on our story, then I get it. But this is kind of part of that story if you look at it, even though they might connect the tissue down the line. This particular scene helped give some vision as far as what Luthor was going for.
I agree totally, because it wasn't that long of a scene either. It was only like 45 seconds. So really, you couldn't have put this scene in, which seems to give so much more background to the larger picture that Zack Snyder was trying to paint, versus like when, Clark Kent is talking to Lois Lane in a bathtub for 3 minutes. You couldn't have cut a little bit out of that. It just seemed like there was a lot of other fat you could have trimmed off this movie and put an important scene like this in here. Schnepp, I know you have very strong feelings on Batman versus Superman. Right. Do those strong feelings correlate to this particular scene?
They certainly do. When I saw this scene, I was like, you forget how much money they spent on this movie. This 145-second scene felt like it cost $10 million. I mean, it's just literally like every scene is just dripping with money. But what a stupid move to cut this scene out of the movie. I mean, there's so many scenes that make no sense in a horribly written script as it is right now, called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Just a piss-poor script. So many scenes I would have cut out. All of the Africa stuff, all of the Senate stuff with the guy with the wheelchair, since we're talking about explosions and spoilers and stuff. None of that makes sense. None of it adds up. All you really needed to motivate Batman was the destruction of Metropolis, but they added all these other things that actually never came to any kind of fruition and actually didn't pin it on Superman. It just big wastes of time. Like that's like literally almost 30 minutes of the movie that you could have cut out, and then put scenes like this that actually make sense. They motivate Lex Luthor. They show you why he's like kind of feeling like he's going a little bit insane. This would be like, because he's got all of the Kryptonian database of all knowledge in his human brain. And also, he's the doorway now to Darkseid. This is definitely showing you those little mother boxes that you see in the Cyborg scene. There's just so many things that it's not an Easter. I mean, like, you could say Easter egg if you see something in the background, but when you're actually using a plot point and not actually explaining it, or like leaving it to some kind of weird conspiracy connect the dots nutballs, like, no, if you only saw this one scene and then went home and drew a map and you'd figure it all out. Like, how about just do it in the movie and make a good movie first? I mean, that's my feeling about it.
My argument against that is that I think that if you're the studio and you're like, okay, look, this is a really cool looking scene and it's going to appeal to hardcore fans of the source material, but the layperson might not get what the hell is going on in there. In a movie that's already a lot to digest, that can be confusing to somebody who doesn't know a lot about the comic books, that scene was very difficult to watch because you just don't understand what is happening. So whereas you needed the Capitol scene to prove that, there's somebody clearly out to get Superman and to pin him to make him look like a bad guy, this scene, it just seemed like Lex Luthor, we had already shown him in the goo, and that it might just be a little more confusing for the average fan, not the comic book fan. And by the way, that comic book fan is already going to buy the Blu-ray, and if they know that this scene is on the Blu-ray, it's going to make them want to buy it even more, the same way that I'm going to go out and buy the Force Awakens Blu-ray because I heard there might be some deleted scenes that maybe everybody wouldn't care about seeing in a theater, but I want to see them because I'm a hardcore fan.
I would disagree because I don't think it's that this scene is not for comic book fans. This scene just would make sense overall in the film because they have the tag at the end with Lex all crazy with saying, ping, ping, ping.
Right.
There's scenes in the movie like that Senate scene that don't make sense, that don't add up, because even in the background it says, the guy in the wheelchair had an explosive device. That doesn't pin it on Superman. I just think it's a poorly written script and not thought through.
I agree with you, though, that the scene should have been in there for more to connect the tissue. Yeah. I think that it wouldn't have confused people, because I think that by doing that, what I'm worried about, people saying, well, I needed this extended cut in order for me to tell my vision. No, you should have had that in there in the first place, because people were gonna get lost, because if you put that particular scene in there, like you said, now what the motivation was behind it and how he's communicating, and just there was just so much more I think that they could have put in that movie to just connect it a little bit more.
I like the scene. Don't get me wrong. I thought the scene was cool. I just don't think that having the scene in the movie would have changed my score or my take on Batman v Superman. It was still the same movie that I walked out of, even if this scene is in it. Now, maybe we do get this awesome R-rated cut when the Blu-ray comes out, and it's 3.5 hours, and everything makes perfect sense. I don't think that this 45 seconds, while very expensive and very cool looking, would have made a huge difference to me.
I agree with you. It wouldn't make any difference to the movie. I'm just saying that it would help a little bit in making certain scenes make sense, whereas most of the movie doesn't make sense when you watch it. It's got cool scenes in it, but that's not a movie.
It's a pretty cool scene. That's our thing. All right, so now we are going back to non-spoiler territory just for a little bit, and we have our next topic. Natasha, what that be?
Yesterday, Disney announced the dates for its D23 convention for 2017, and interestingly enough, their convention will take place the weekend of July 14th through 16th, 1 week before San Diego Comic-Con. While Comic-Con has yet to unveil its official 2017 dates, many assume the weekend of July 19th and 23rd will be the likeliest spot for its convention. This marks a significant change for the Disney convention, which released footage from Civil War and Force Awakens, two of their biggest marquee releases just last year. The move already has fans buzzing about what it will mean for the granddaddy of all conventions at San Diego Comic-Con, with many believing that San Diego will lose out on many of its biggest draws in Marvel and Star Wars that make Hall H the center of the universe during the weekend. Schnepp, what are your thoughts on Disney moving their convention so close to Comic-Con?
Well, it's crazy. Kristian reminded me that a year ago I said, hey, it seems like, Disney will eventually just pull out completely of San Diego Con and just do it all at D23, and it makes sense. And now with this news, I guess the year ago version of me was smarter than the version of me now, because I was like, what? I can't even remember saying that. Because, it seems like that's what they're going to do. It makes sense, especially if it's a week before San Diego Con. They're going to actually pull most of their big daddies. Like, you got Marvel, you got Star Wars, you got Indiana Jones, you got you got the Muppets, you got Mickey Mouse, and all. Disney's a gigantic empire of a lot of franchises, and it would make sense from a money perspective to hey, we've got all of our big highlights happening at D23 the week before San Diego Comic-Con. And then they'll probably still be at San Diego Comic-Con because it's promotion. It's free advertising. They'll still be there, but they're going to let loose a lot of their bigger trailers. The bigger events will all happen at their own convention that they own and they get all the money from. So it makes sense. It's a bummer because it's like you're going to just have to split. Like, how many conventions can we go to every I guess now it's going to be once a week for the rest of our lives. So There we go.
You guys hear that? The Oracle struck over a year ago. We didn't even know it was happening. Kristian, from this news, it appears that you and I are going to be going from our hotel room in Anaheim to our hotel room in San Diego. Do you like this news? Is this the right play for Disney?
I mean, for Disney, look, here's the thing, and I see the chat room going, "Oh, Disney's evil. They're taking away the Comic-Con experience in Marvel and Star Wars." I understand that perspective, but what you also have to realize is what Schnepp said as far as business goes. It costs Disney a lot of money and other studios a lot of money to go to Comic-Con. They're going to be saving money at their own convention to be able to do it beforehand. And if people are showing up and people are going to it and it is beneficial for them to do it, why not do it at your own convention? Now, personally, I think that because I was at Star Wars Celebration, was the best con that I've ever been to, being a Star Wars fan or not Star Wars fan, just because you're so immersed in that world as a fan. I still think Marvel should have their own con. I think the universe is big enough with the comics and games and just with the movies, obviously, in the shared universe. They could have their own con, and that could be something that Disney could benefit on as well. But by doing D23, I just think that I'd like to see them step up the experience more, though, because the actual panels were pretty good last year at D23 with the animation stuff, the live action stuff. The Star Wars stuff was very disappointing, to be honest.
Star Wars Land.
Yeah, it was fine, but it was for the most part disappointing. If they're going to do that, if they indeed are going to take it away from Comic-Con, then they have to give you a lot more at D23. D23 has to become a much bigger experience than it is right now. I understand why they're doing it, and if they do it, I get it. And it's time for San Diego to build out that convention. Because it's getting overcrowded. And that has a lot to do with it as well too, because they want to, because a lot of people can't get into these panels. Like, do you know what else that Disney did for Star Wars Celebration and for D23? When their events were sold out, they put in other rooms to where people could live stream and watch it in a big event. They don't do that at Comic-Con. You miss Hall H, you're screwed. You got to go find something else to do because it's too small. It's too big now, and it's beneficial for the studios to now build on it. If you can have your own convention, do it. So I understand the grievances. It's like, well, I paid my ticket at Comic-Con. I want to go see the Marvel stuff. And I understand that frustration from fans. I get it. But looking at it from a business side of view, you have to step back and go, okay, that makes sense.
I'm going to expound upon your point a little bit. And look, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of reason why people will be jealous of me, okay? I'm a snazzy dresser. I have a perfect face. But the biggest reason of all is that I get into conventions usually for free as press.
Right.
So I don't have to be one of those unfortunate souls that has to wake up at 8 a.m. on Saturday to try to get tickets for Comic-Con and get shut out. Not about getting into Hall H, about getting a ticket to the event
in general,
at
right?
all.
Right.
I don't know how hard it is to get a D23 ticket. I imagine it's going to start to be a little bit harder, especially if they keep doing it once every 2 years. But if it's anywhere easier than it is getting one to Comic-Con, which seems almost impossible for the average fan to do, then I applaud Disney for making this move. I get your point about business and money. I think one of the biggest reasons why Disney is going to be pulling away from Comic-Con and doing their own convention that will be competing with Comic-Con is because they do not want their precious footage leaked anywhere else. And D23 has the best security staff in the world when it comes to policing and making sure nobody's taping any of this top secret footage on their cell phone. Whereas when you go to Comic-Con, all that stuff got leaked.
But wait, one of the things, and this is something I was watching one day, yelling on my computer, watching you guys talk about it last time, because you said it at Comic-Con. You guys were talking about how the security is so good, and you're like, well, but they check phones, and you guys are, well, no, they didn't check phones at D23. They absolutely checked phones at D23, and it's something that they should do at Comic-Con. They didn't check phones for the press at D23.
But even press, remember some guy was walking in with his camera.
They said, and they were like,
sorry, dude.
Like they were right on them. But I think that checking phones, doing it, because sometimes they have some. There are some people that work at Comic-Con that are really great on it. Then there's other people that are hired there. Just not even paying attention to anything going on. You could be like, hey, watch, dude, I'm filming the footage. And it's like, there's some, but like I said, there's some really good people. But
It's literally goofy.
They're really
goofy.
Yeah. Do whatever you want. Yeah, not at my convention.
I love D23
It's just
give me your phone or I'll murder you.
But it's a matter of who you hire for these things too. You know, it's like when you have D23 also. Guys in the suits. It looks like Secret Service there.
Looks like
put
Jack Bauer.
Phone on, boom, your hands down. So
You're
you got if you want, whoever's the studio should help with putting people on for not the whole convention, because that's not their responsibility. But if you don't want your stuff leaked, then for your panel,
big trailer.
for your panel, hire your security. Hire the security for your panel. If you're that concerned about it, that's what you should do. And you know, if it's a little extra money to do it to ensure that it's not going to be leaked, that's what you need to do, because it's not fair to ask some people that are not equipped to handle the thousands upon thousands of people in Hall H.
That's right. I mean, look, money certainly plays the biggest factor in any of these decisions, but I think that leaked footage and not getting their material out before it's ready to be going online is a huge component when it comes to D23 possibly competing against Comic-Con. And I can't say it's the wrong play. I hope you fans who are looking forward to D23 can get tickets easier than you can at Comic-Con as of right now. Okay, so we're going to go to our next story, but once again, and this is the last time we're going to do it on this show, we are going to get into some spoiler territory talking about Batman versus Superman. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, please make sure that you go into this knowing what we're talking about, which is The Flash. Let's hear it, Natasha.
With Dawn of Justice finally out in theaters, we knew Batman v Superman would include a number of cameos from most of the Justice League members in the movie somehow. One of the more interesting ones most fans are curious about is Ezra Miller's Flash character. In an exclusive interview with producer Deborah Snyder, Steve Frosty Weintraub asked if the cameo was shot with the intention of figuring out how it could fit into the larger universe later on, a la Breaking Bad, or actually predetermined. Snyder said, "This was kind of the opposite of Breaking Bad because we had the script and it wasn't in the script. As we started then, we worked on our script. I think we were in the middle of shooting and we started working on the outline for the next movie and where they go. And Zach said, oh my God, let's add this moment that is going to pay off down the road and we'll find out more information." Kristian, your thoughts on Deborah Snyder's comments about The Flash?
I mean, I liked the way that they used The Flash in the movie, and I think that they're going to and I really enjoy the casting choice of Ezra Miller, even though I think that it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for him because people love the television version of the Flash so much. But I like the way that they put him in the script, and I think that it even that's what I was talking about before, where that with that extended scene, to where there were certain things like, did you need to show them in this particular movie? I don't think so. I think that it does help set up down the line, and it helps introduce that these are the people who are going to be playing these characters. It was cool to have it in there. It certainly benefits the universe, but I don't think you necessarily needed to put it in there. But hearing her comments, I liked the way that it was handled, and no, I think it was a positive thing.
I think you did need something like this scene in there.
Yeah.
Maybe not the way that it played out with Batman looking at a file off camera, and then Wonder Woman looking at it on camera the way she did. But this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and seeing just those little hands. I like this scene because it didn't throw them in the mix with the big three that we were going to go see. I don't want to see them interacting just yet, but the fact that we're now aware of who these people are, and it gave us just a little glimpse into there. It was between the Flash and Aquaman for which one I liked better. I thought both of them were so well done, a lot better than, I know you have issues with the other one, but seeing the Flash in there and just watching how cool, casual it was. I liked that it was that security camera footage. Everything about that scene worked very, very well to me, and it's interesting to hear some of the backstory of how that played out.
Well, it's also, I mean, I think the scene that also wasn't in this script was the Batman Mad Max sequence. That's what I think that Deborah Snyder's talking about.
Right, it was a Flash. You saw Flash twice.
Yeah,
Right.
Flash shows up twice. Once,
Right.
a lot of people didn't even know it was Flash because
Right.
he's wearing this really weird kind of armored device that opens up, and he's like, "You've got to save." Lois is the key, because that sequence where we see Batman in the future, or a possible future, where he's all kind of road warriored out, and he gets captured by Superman, who incinerates his friends, and then blames Batman for killing either Lois or Martha. We don't know who it is, gets killed. We're assuming that Lois gets killed and that Batman somehow killed her. So it's a lot of these things, like in Justice Gods Among Us, a lot of these other future stories that the Flash is involved in, because he can travel through different multiverses. They're kind of queuing up the regular audience, not comic book readers, that, hey, this is possible. There's all these other things that we're just going to, even though a lot of audiences didn't know what the hell that scene was. They're like, what the hell was that?
I had no idea that was the Flash, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people will say, like, oh, well, you didn't like the movie that much, so why is it something that you think you need to see again in theaters? It's stuff like that, because you just can't take in everything one trip to the theater watching this movie. So I liked that was in there, and it's one of the reasons why I want to go back and see the movie again and again, is to catch all the stuff that I missed, because it wasn't a great movie. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, and I think having the Flash and having particularly in this story we're talking about the Flash, that was so much more important than having an extra 45 seconds of Lex Luthor to me. Okay, now we're good with spoilers. For the rest of the show, we're good. I'm doing the hit. We're cool? All right, now you can click on that, and we can go to our next story, which is about James Wan talking about Aquaman, but we're not going to spoil anything else. Right, Natasha?
Right.
Okay, cool. This is buy or sell. Buy or sell is when Natasha's going to give us a premise, and we're simply going to say if we buy it or sell it, then we will defend our argument to the death.
To the death. All right. Director James Wan, who successfully jumped from one genre to another with Furious 7, will look to do it again with Warner Brothers' Aquaman. Over the weekend at WonderCon, IGN asked Wan about his take on the character of Aquaman played by Jason Momoa, along with his plans for the film. I think Aquaman is a character that a lot of people have made fun of over the years, and I just think he's fun to actually show a really different, cool, badass side to his character. But at the same time, let's not forget to have fun with it. There's always something kind of cool about Aquaman still, the idea of creating a huge world that is on our planet. That's the thing about Aquaman that's cool, is he's not an alien. Mark, buy or sell James Wan's comments about Aquaman?
He's not an alien. Sweet, 'cause I don't want any more aliens in this. I want Aquaman. And I was not going to say that until they casted Aquaman. I remember we were talking about, that's got to be the hardest one. They made fun of him on Entourage for 3 seasons in a row that it was James Cameron's Aquaman. And he's just been this running joke in Family Guy, as far back as sketch comedy shows like The State. You just make fun of Aquaman. And then they cast Jason Momoa as the dude. And it's like, okay, everybody, hang on. They just cast Drogo from Game of Thrones as Aquaman. Now I buy into this character. And everything I've seen since then makes me very excited to see Aquaman, particularly the fact that a guy like James Wan is going to be doing the movie. And I totally trust that guy in a variety of genres, not just with horror anymore, but if he can take some of those sensibilities into the mystery surrounding who Aquaman is. Plus, I think that after seeing what we have seen of this character so far, this is a movie, this is one of my most anticipated of whatever year it comes out. I think this is 2018. I believe.
I think it's 18.
Somewhere around there.
I might be wrong.
I'm locked into this movie already. Seeing these comments only makes me more so. How about you, Schnepp?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I think James Wan is a great director as far as like all the horror films that he did. Then he did the Furious 7. He did a great job with that. So my confidence with him as a director and the ability to pull the emotional stakes out of the actors, know what works in a scene, knowing how to sculpt that scene and make it make sense and have those kind of stakes. That's what you need, especially when you're dealing with something like this, which is a superhero or a super powered person, something that's not real. He's going to want to add those monsters. He's going to want to add those elements that are just inherently in there with Aquaman. It's like you're going way down into the Marianas Trench and all these other places that we've never even had the ability to explore yet. That's where Atlantis is, and that's where a whole bunch of other weird, creepy creatures are. It's like the guy who's making The Conjuring. There's going to be some weird monsters, and so it sounds really exciting to me, and I can't wait to see what he does with the film. I'm still really excited about Wonder Woman, about Aquaman. That's what I'm excited about in the future for DC.
Kristian, you pumped?
I am excited for this because James Wan is a guy that has shown he can jump from genre to genre, and here's another one he's going to try too. Because here's the thing, regardless of what you think about the last Furious movie, okay, realize the amount of time and what he had to deal with while making that film. And that should serve as a testament to what he can do as a filmmaker, because he was exhausted from what he had to do and the way they had to work around the unfortunate passing away of Paul Walker, and to watch everything that he did there is an impressive feat. And now to hear him talk about Aquaman, of what he wants to do. What I'm worried about in Aquaman that I don't want to see is I want to see this movie as a full-fledged fantasy film inside that world and stay there. I don't want Aquaman to, well, now I've got legs and I'm going to walk around. I mean, I know he has legs, but walking around as a regular
He's
dude.
a merman.
Aquaman walks like Frankenstein.
But no, just walking around like in the outside world. I know he's got
Christian, I want to see him walk like that.
but I don't want to. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to turn into a Little Mermaid.
No,
you know, I want it to
Sushi.
be. Yeah, right. I want him to be in that world. I want it to be that part. Like I want to see him there.
Well, remember, he's half in the origin. He's half man, half.
I know. No, I
fish.
Yeah,
Aquaman.
but I don't want to see. But I don't want to see that. We've got enough of this stuff happening with Wonder Woman and Justice League now and all this stuff to where when he's going to be Justice League, let him be on land. That's fine. But I want to see this world. This could be something that James Wan could really explore here. So this is a guy that I'd like to see do it, because I agree with you. The creepy creatures and all that stuff, to what he could do as a director, could be a lot of fun.
It's just crazy how far on the other side of the scale I've landed now since Jason Momoa is now Aquaman and James Wan is doing the movie. Earth is 70% water, okay?
Right.
That's a huge domain to take care of. Yet we're more concerned with one guy who puts on tights and runs around one city and saves it. It's like, who cares about Gotham City when you have the rest of the earth to take care of? That's what Aquaman's doing for you, and you don't even know it. He's protecting you, and you had no idea. Thank you for everything you do.
And he can talk to fish.
Half man. And he can talk to fish. It's a beautiful thing what that guy does for our world. Natasha, what's next?
The latest clips from Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book reveal a couple new scenes that pack some emotional punches. In an intimate scene between Raksha, voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, and Mowgli, played by Neil Sethi, Nyong'o's mother, Wolf, is forced to let Bagheera, voiced by Ben Kingsley, to take her cub back to man's world, as it's no longer safe for him in the jungle. And in another clip, we see a scene featuring Baloo, voiced by Bill Murray, the necessities of hibernation in the jungle. The Jungle Book also features the voices of Scarlett Johansson as the voice of the Python Ka and Christopher Walken as King Louie. The movie opens on April 15th. Schnepp, buy or sell the new clips from The Jungle Book?
You know what? I got to be honest. I totally didn't even see these clips because we were like talking about this stuff, but I buy it anyway.
Your dog ate your homework.
This just looks so awesome. No, I didn't see him, so I'm going to let you guys.
You watched that Lex Luthor clip like 80 times.
Yeah,
You're taking 1 minute.
Saw way too many scenes with the mother box. My brain exploded. Forgot about Jungle Book.
Why wasn't this wolf in Batman and Superman?
I think it would have made a lot more sense if Mowgli was in the deleted scenes.
No, don't worry. You know what? It doesn't matter that you haven't seen the clips, because we happen to have a very gifted impressionist here on the set. That's going to be Kristian Harloff.
Oh.
So what does John Schnepp think about this clip?
About this clip? Oh man, you put me on the spot here. Well, I mean, look, the script, it was there, guys. Like, there was so much there, but it just lazy. You know, I had it. It was like I was watching the movie. I was like, come on, son. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Schnepp's a rapper. Wow.
So he does very
just scrimping mad rhymes.
Come on, son.
Yeah. That was very good. Okay, now what does Kristian Harloff think if you can get back into your normal character?
Hey, look, some pizza. Oh wait, that's your impression of me. That's your impression. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy these clips very much so, because I have seen the Jungle Book movie with my daughter so many times over the last year. And one of the things that always got me with this movie, those damn wolves give up Mowgli like that. They treat him like, oh, you know what? Yeah, Bagheera, go take him in the jungle. We don't care. Finally, they show that these wolves give a crap. It's like, okay, no, don't take my son. He's my son. There's this nice touching moment. Loved it. And then the second clip with Baloo. That is Baloo. What a perfect voice for Bill Murray to be doing this. And just that quick little turn, he's just stuffing his fat face. I love this clip. I love the movie. Going to see it next week, and I couldn't be more excited.
You're right. Those wolves could not wait to give up that human cub. And I got to say, I don't blame them. I don't want kids either. These clips in particular. Dude, this first one where he's talking to the wolves, and they're like so upset that Mowgli's got to go off. It was near Dumbo territory for me.
Oh, yeah.
And you know how I feel about Dumbo when Dumbo and his mom, they rubbed trunks for the last time, and it's like, oh, God, it brings a tear to my eyes. So seeing this clip, luckily, right after that, I could rush into the next one where it's Bagheera and Baloo having a little bit of, well, Bagheera's always pissed off, but seeing Baloo talk about, I'm not hibernating, I'm just taking a long nap. Everything about this movie, and these clips are just another indication of it, is that when you see things on a big, huge movie screen, it's one thing, and it all looks realistic because it's just overwhelming for your eyes. Seeing it on the internet, seeing it on a little computer like this, it still looks so realistic.
Yeah.
The way that the animal's fur moves, the way that it like clings together in the rain, and they're talking, and I believe everything. Jon Favreau said when we were at D23 that this is the most technologically advanced movie ever made, and everybody's like, you got some footage to back that up? Yeah. They got a lot of footage to back it up. And I am so happy that I get to see this movie. You and I get to see this movie, the premiere.
Less than a week away.
Next week, dude.
Yep.
And again, I don't need to see any more clips, but if they keep releasing them, I'm going to watch them because I'm so in love with this movie already. It's like Aquaman or the Jungle Book Wolves. I don't know who I love more, but they both have a special place right here in my heart. All right, what's our last buy or sell? Actually,
That was our last buy
we're
or
done
sell.
with buy or sell, but now we're going to opening this week, and it's a movie that I'm definitely going to buy. Natasha, tell us about it.
Everybody Wants Some is set in the world of 1980 college life in Texas, where a college freshman, played by Blake Jenner, meets his new baseball teammates, played by Will Britton and Ryan Guzman, who are an unruly group of disco-dancing, skirt-chasing partiers. This spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused follows the group of friends as they navigate their way through the freedoms and responsibilities of unsupervised adulthood. The movie is written and directed by Richard Linklater.
Oh, man, I am so ready for this movie. And yes, a lot of it is because of the title and the source material and the fact that it is based on a Van Halen song. You could have taken a lot of Van Halen songs and named them after a pretty kick-ass movie. This was the right one if you're talking about the spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, which was such a great comedy, a little bit of drama in there, coming-of-age tale. This one, it looks a lot like it could be Animal House mixed with, I'm sure it's Richard Linklater. I'm sure there's going to be more serious moments in here somewhere between a character, but it just looks like a really fun movie. And that's everything I want if you name your movie after a song from the greatest party band of all time. Kristian, we're seeing it tonight. You're probably not as excited as me because I don't think anybody else could be, but you're jacked, right?
I'll be excited by the end of it because I'm probably going to have to chug 87 beers. We have a bet going on Schmoes that every time there's a Van Halen song played in a movie, watch Schmoes and you'll find out what happens. But no, I am. The first teaser trailer that I saw a while ago was not impressed at all. I thought it looked really campy, cheesy, tried to be a mimic of Dazed and Confused and didn't hit any of the marks at all. And then this last trailer was the complete opposite. Got me on board and looked way more like the movie I knew in Dazed and Confused. I know it's not a sequel. It's a kind of brother or sister or cousin to the movie, and it's a movie that Linklater wrote like right after Dazed and Confused, and a story that he wanted to tell. So I love Dazed and Confused. I think it's a great film. It's a movie that I thought captured adolescence in such a pure way that I'm hoping that this does the same. His use of soundtracks in movies in general have been incredible. So I can only imagine what this one's going to be like. So I am looking forward to this. And it's a nice switch and a change from all, because we're going to get into all the big budgets superhero movies. We just came off Batman v Superman. Now we're going to go into some more, go into the summer, and I'm ready for those. But I'd like a little bit of a switch right now, prepping me, a little appetizer before we get into the summer season.
Schnepp, you taking whiskey to this party, or is it going to get lost in the jet stream?
Hey, I'm buying it no matter what. I love Dazed and Confused as well. I just saw it like a couple weeks ago for I don't even know how many times I've seen that film. It's such a great love letter to the 70s, and it feels like this is going to be a love letter to the 80s. And you're right, the first trailer they released, I was like, I didn't even know it was a Linklater film. I was, what's this weird film? And then the second trailer, I think they realized, was like, look, why not just say what it is? It is like the sequel or the unofficial sequel to Dazed and Confused. It's 10 years later, and it's everybody wants them. Obviously, it's gonna have a great soundtrack. Feels like all the things that I did in the 80s we're gonna see in this movie. So I'm very excited to experience it through Richard Linklater's lens. I buy it.
Fun game how the chat room starts to mirror a frat house when you're talking about a movie, like everybody wants some. You guys out there, if you're watching us live or you're watching us after on YouTube, comment right now. What is the best college party movie of all time? Is it Animal House? Is it something like Revenge of the Nerds? Old School does count, by the way, because it technically takes place on a college campus. Let us know your picks, and if you're interested, for Everybody Wants Some. So now we're going to move on to Mailbag, which is where we get to hear from you guys. Before we get to that, I want to remind you guys, at the end of this show, we're going to take your live Twitter questions. How do you get a tweet on the air? Well, you'd be very nice to Natasha when you tweet us at Collider Video. And if you want to get one of your mail questions read on the show, just email us collidervideo@gmail.com. We pick as many as we can. Thank you guys so much for your unending support of Movie Talk. Let's get to the mailbag, Natasha.
Nicholas Longren writes, "Hello, Collider. I'm about to attend a test screening later this week. I was wondering how the test screening process works. How different can a test screening be from the final cut?"
I have never been to a test screening. You see a lot of the like when you're outside a movie theater and you have those guys and they're sometimes they're a little creepy. They walk up to you like, "Hey, do you want to see a movie?" 6 months before it comes out, and you're like, "Not if I have to sign anything." And I think that a lot of the times those are for test screenings because studios do want to know how audiences feel about a movie and whether they need to change it, whether they need to do another cut of it. So it definitely factors into the final cut you see. Schnepp, have you ever done a test screening with your own material, or have you ever attended a test screening for a studio?
I have not done a test screening with my own material, but I've attended many, many, many test screenings. Starting from when I was a little kid, I went and saw Flash Gordon a year before it came out, the 1980s Flash Gordon.
Somebody on this panel is so jealous of you right now, and it's not me.
Yeah, and it was basically like they didn't even say what it was. It was just a poster with the Hawkman.
Nice.
But since I was such a nerd, I was like, in Starlog, it's Flash Gordon. So I was like, went and saw it. The only scene I could say that was cut out was the boar worms. They actually had that in there where they're like, not the boar worms. Yep, they looked exactly what you'd think they were, and they were like,
a shot of the worms.
Oh yeah, they came in a little jar. And
I was about to say, actually, they are in the movie.
Yeah, you actually see them.
Oh, okay.
And it was really disgusting. I'll describe to you what they look like.
Fair enough.
Nerd fight.
The boar worms are in it. So anyway, I've been to many test screenings because I love that process. It's harder for me to get into them now because people could recognize me. They're like, "Get out of here!" Like, because if I'm in the DGA and I'm also on this show now, so I'm like, people don't want people who are in the industry to see these films. They are for just normal or regular people who are not part of the industry. So I don't go to as many as I used to, but I did get to go see Mad Max Fury Road, which was a test screening. So a lot of the effects weren't done. I saw it like 6 months before it came out. And all it was is that, very little was changed. Just a few sequences and a few scenes here and there, a few nip and tucks. But, some of the graphics aren't done. Usually when you see a test screening, they'll say the sound isn't done or the musical score isn't done. And whether it depends on how early of a test screening you're seeing. Sometimes it'll just be, it'll say effects to be added, which is very rare now. They do that a lot less because even if you describe something to someone like, look, there's going to be shots, like you're going to see a green screen, you're going to see some things that aren't finished, and then after the movie's done, people on their little boxes are like, I didn't understand the scene with the green in it. You're like, I know, but I explained it to you. So
they give you like a comment sheet to fill out, or they ask you specific questions afterwards?
Yeah, I saw Holly and I went and saw. I remember we saw. I think it was called Ask the Dust. It was like a Robert Towne film with Selma Hayek, and we saw like the 3-hour version where there was like an earthquake and all this other, like literally scenes that are not in the movie now. They like literally cut out like an hour of the film. That's what usually happens. I like even just a couple months ago, they test screened Guy Ritchie's King Arthur. And then it got pulled from the slate. But they had a screening right here. And I was like, and I couldn't go. I was like, it's King Arthur. Cool. That'll be great to see. Comes out in about a year. Now it's like even more farther away because they're going to have to reshoot.
So I imagine the right boxes were not checked from the studio's perspective. Kristian, you've worked with studio bigwigs before. Have you been to test screenings? What's it like?
I mean, I have been. I think one of the last ones, because like Schnepp said, it's harder to get into them now because if the studio reps recognize you or know that you work for another outlet, then it's like, no press. But Mark Riley and I actually saw Terminator Salvation. McGee actually invited us to go see that. Like, this was when I was working at Warner Brothers. He's like, hey, come see the movie. And I was like I said, very nice guy, just not the best filmmaker. Because the movie itself, when I saw the movie, I was going, ooh, this thing gonna be good. And even with like that test stuff where it's like effects to be added later, that is a movie you do not want to see with not finished effects. You don't want to see a movie with finished effects. Right. And so I remember them taking notes after they asking people what they thought, and like it's like service. I want to know what the audience is thinking too. There's another movie I can't remember. It's like it was David Cross and what's his face, Saul, Better Call Saul,
and Bob Odenkirk.
Thank you, Odenkirk.
Run, Ronnie, run.
Thank you. Run, Ronnie, Run. I was such a big Mr. Show fan of the fact I can't remember both their names. But I went, and Bernie Brillstein, by the way, the late Bernie Brillstein was at this screening, and I remember going to see it because I was so excited that these guys were making a movie. And I remember seeing the movie, and it was really funny. There was some really great stuff, over the top stuff. Then the movie came out, and there was a lot of cut stuff, and they listened to too many people, and there's too many cuts.
Oh, they cut the wrong stuff.
And they cut the wrong stuff. I thought it was less funny originally, but they listen. They want to see what the audience is saying. They want to see. They do enough of them that if it seems to be that a particular audience is saying this about a movie, maybe they go back, they re-edit stuff, or like you said, special effects and that kind of thing.
You know what's interesting is we keep hearing about, like, South by Southwest. They screened the movie Keanu with Key and Peele, and it's about like the cat, and it's got a really funny poster, and the trailer's hilarious. And a lot of people are saying that when they introduced the movie, they're saying, hey, now we're showing this to you guys, to show our appreciation, but it's not necessarily the finished cut. I'm hearing mixed reports as to whether it actually was the final cut or not. I heard that the first half was great, that the second half drags a little bit, so maybe that's one of the reasons why they screen it, so they can watch a crowd, particularly with a comedy. Because with a comedy, you want your audience laughing consistently, and if it drags too much at a point, you really got to take it back and say, well, maybe we get rid of this, maybe we get rid of that. So regardless, Keanu comes out later this month, or later in April, so it's a movie I'm really looking forward to. I hope the finished product is as funny as the trailers are. We'll have to wait and see. All right, what's our next mailbag question?
Daryl P. writes, hey, Collider Gang. Recently, you guys discussed the upcoming release of Everybody Wants Some, and Mark mentioned how excited he is for the soundtrack. Woohoo! This made me think of some of my favorite soundtracks, and I realized that a lot of them are from either middle of the pack or downright terrible movies. My two biggest examples are the Disturbing Behavior soundtrack with Harvey Danger's Flagpole Sitta and The Flies Got You Where I Want You, and the epic Judgment Night soundtrack. What are some of your favorite soundtracks that thankfully overshadow their questionable movie material? Thanks for reading my question, and stay filthy, gang.
Judgment Night. Remember that with Iron Slam? Slam, da, da, da.
Yeah.
That was a great tune. The movie was, Dennis Leary and Emilio Estevez. The ones that stick out to me, first of all, when you saw the test screening of Flash Gordon, did they have the Queen music in there?
All of it.
Okay, yeah, because the Queen music is pretty awesome. Flash Gordon, sorry, Kristian, I'm just not a big fan of the movie at all. But there's some horrible movies that have great soundtracks. One of them is the Lori Petty early 90s film Tank Girl. Oh, yeah. Remember Tank Girl? It was based on a comic. It was a total bomb at the box office, but the soundtrack was awesome. There was also a Mike Myers movie that has really funny elements of it. As a movie, it doesn't really hold up.
Don't say it.
So I Married an
No,
Axe
it's a
Murderer.
funny movie.
You know what? I'll do you the favor of checking it out again.
Yeah.
But I remember my big takeaway from that movie was it had a great early 90s soundtrack. You had some Toad the Wet Sprocket on there, Ned's Atomic Gas Bin. There was a lot of good stuff in there. So those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head as far as great soundtracks, but the movies maybe didn't represent it the best way. How about you?
There's a movie with Brendan Fraser and Samantha Mathis called Cheese Strike. And it has
Cheese Strike.
It has
the hell?
It has the Doors, Pink Floyd. It's got Big Daddy Kane. I'm just kidding. I made that movie up. The only reason that is because I had to. I didn't read the question well enough before, so I had to make up Cheese Strike.
I like Cheese Strike. I want to see it now. Hey, you know what?
Nobody does their homework when it's you two guys.
I just saw. Hey, look, I did my homework. Relax. I didn't see the Jungle Book thing.
You're both banging erasers after class.
All right, so we're even now. So check it out. I just saw a movie. It's on Netflix right now. It's called Dope. It's incredible. It's got an all 90s soundtrack. It's got so much flavor in there. If you haven't seen that, and it's got like Public Enemy. It's got Q-Tip. It's got so much amazing, so many amazing soundtracks. I was like, man, I was just rolling through them. So Dope is one of my favorite, newest films I just saw that has an incredible soundtrack. I could always go back to the John Hughes catalog, any of his films, The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Every single one of his films is loaded with incredible, amazing 80s music, which now everyone's into the 80s again. It feels like, it's like a flashback, but when it came out, it was amazing soundtrack.
No, trust me, the 80s never, ever left us.
Mortal Kombat, people are saying. Godzilla from 98, for sure. And also people are agreeing, Cheese Strike.
I need to watch Cheese Strike. I'll admit that. Godzilla 98, I'm sorry, man. I'm not a huge fan of P. Diddy or Puff Daddy or whoever he was back then redoing Kashmir. Kashmir was fine the way it was.
Yeah. Don't need to mess with it.
Yeah, somebody said The Crow, and I'm like, The Crow's
Crow is a
great.
good movie.
Dope's great.
Yeah.
The Breakfast Club is great. As far as movies that weren't great that had awesome soundtracks, Batman Forever. You had Seal, right? Kissed by a Rose. Yeah. And you had a great, the great U2 song, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, Deadly. It was a better song than the movie was. So there's your answer. We hope we did. At least some of us on the panel paid attention.
Cheese Strike.
Now
Cheese
it
Strike.
is time for Twitter questions. Please ask any of your Cheese Strike related questions or other films that you care to talk about to Natasha right now. Natasha, what's up first?
Ramiro Gamboa Jr. asks, do you all think that BVS had the same issues that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had? Love to hear your thoughts.
No, because the extras in Batman vs. Superman were a lot better than. Go back and watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Or
the
don't.
Extras, it's trust me, it's worth it. Just for the extras in the fight scenes, they're just standing like 5 feet away, and they're just like watching a fight happen. Like they paid for box seats, not that their actual life is in danger. There's a lot of flaws with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and every time I think about it, I'm like, how did I enjoy that movie as much as I did when I watched it in the theater? Because I had a good time in the theater, and then it's one of those movies that just sticks with you. And you're like, oh, that sucked, and that sucked, and that sucked. Oh man, this isn't good. Batman vs. Superman, after having ruminated on it pretty much every second of my life since I saw it, I'm like, yeah, it was I had fun watching it. It just wasn't a great film in my opinion. Kristian, it's a lot better than Spider-Man 2 though, right?
It's like Braveheart compared to Spider-Man 2.
Wow.
It is a far superior film than Spider-Man 2. I mean, come on. The movie, I stand by the fact that I gave the movie a fresh review. I still think it deserves the fresh review. I think there's a lot of great things in the movie. Spider-Man 2, the more and more you watch it, the worse it gets. I mean, it's a dopey movie. Take away the chemistry of Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, but I mean, Rhino,
I'm going to get you, Spidey.
what movie are you in? Come on, God, what's happening?
He's in a bad movie.
Yeah, I know, but it's like there's so much in that movie, like to where it's not just throw that in there. See, I think Spider-Man 2 had the same problems that Spider-Man 3 had. You know, the rainy Spider-Man 3
is better than The Amazing Spider-Man
I don't know.
2.
Emo dancing Tobey
I'll take
Maguire
that
on a
any
piano.
day instead of like Inky Dinky Spider, like the horrible Electro.
Yeah, it was
horrible
a mess.
Rhino.
But
I think I felt more for Spider-Man and Mary Jane in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 than I did for any human character in Spider-Man 3. So it's got that going for it. But I know you're not the biggest fan of Amazing Spider-Man.
People love when I talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, right, guys? Anyway,
Spidey.
yeah, it's Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just a really bad film. Batman v Superman is also a kind of a bad film, but has some elements in it that are fun. And unfortunately, I saw it a second time yesterday and liked it less. So, like a lot of people are saying, I saw it a third and fourth time, it even gets better. I don't know how and who you are, but like we obviously have different opinions on this film, and that's the great thing about films. Like, you know, a lot of us love certain films and we all can agree on things, and there's a lot of other films like Batman v Superman which we're just never going to agree on. So
All right. Well, we can't agree on that, but we can agree on hopefully the next Twitter question. What do we got?
Sebastian Fila asks, thoughts on the rumors of the X-Men going to the MCU in a reboot, something like the Spider-Man deal?
Thoughts on the X-Men going to the MCU in a reboot, a lot like Spider-Man?
never gonna happen. It's never
is that
gonna
a rumor?
happen. No,
Or is that just this guy hoping?
It's just somebody.
I can't
never
imagine
hoping.
that Fox is going to let go of
No.
their prize pony right now, which is X-Men, especially the fact that they just had Deadpool come out to rave reviews, a huge box office, and he's in the X-Men world, so I don't think that they're going to be in the MCU anytime soon.
As George Carlin says, it's not even an option. Like, it's not going to happen because the reason why that the Spider-Man talk started, because the movies were doing terrible. There was no way to connect any tissue at all. They were losing money, even though Spider-Man 2 made so much money. Yet fans were starting to revolt, and they weren't going to see a third one, so they knew they had to make a deal with Marvel. X-Men is not in that place at all. It almost was. Once First Class came out, that took that all away. And then Days of Future Past, really, critics loved it, fans really loved it, and now that Deadpool is hit as well too, never going to happen. Not for a long time anyway.
Schnepp, I'm sure you agree with our sentiment, but let's say that they wanted to put them in the MCU. Let's say you wanted to get all the X-Men over to the MCU. How on earth do you fit all of those mutants into this world that's already chock full of superheroes?
Not a problem at all. Look at the way the Marvel Universe has already successfully expanded into outer space with Guardians of the Galaxy. They've they've got thousands of characters there. They've got hundreds of characters on Earth. Throwing a couple of mutants in there is nothing. I think Fox is going to have to give Marvel the Fantastic Four sooner than later.
Yeah.
I mean, they could try a 5th movie and fail again. I mean, that's the thing. I think the Fantastic Four, they belong over at Marvel, but X-Men is doing a great job at just being its own universe. And I think it works better story-wise, especially in the movies, to have them exist on their own, and be like humans versus mutants. I think so that I don't think that's ever gonna, at least in our lifetime, gonna revert back.
It would be cool to see Wolverine fight Iron Man, though.
It would be.
If it was Civil War, it'd be fun to see. I just don't think we're ever.
But you know
gonna
what?
see
Unless you have like a cool story, it would just be like seeing Batman fights Superman.
The thing is, what's crazy is that I don't know if it's a sport. No, it's been all over the place. But like, there's something that happened last night was that there was 2 networks that put you had the Flash and you had Supergirl. Now it's 2 networks.
And I heard it was fun.
That's
it's
what I heard.
Really
I didn't
film.
see it, but
it's like the anti-Batman v Superman is what they've been saying.
Well,
it's a fun film.
The thing is that I didn't really love Supergirl. I know it's popular in tone, and I watched the first half of the Flash, loved it, and I want to go back and watch the rest of it. But when I heard this, it wasn't me going, "Oh, I want to see the Flash and Supergirl." I'm just thinking, how cool is it the fact that CBS and CW could kind of work together here and make this happen? And I'd like to see if that can happen with maybe not as many connected networks, but maybe you have something else in the movies that happens too with a Fox and a Disney, maybe one crossover event. If they were able to come to the table and say, for one crossover movie, X-Men and the Avengers, I mean, it's just a matter. It's just so hard to split the profits.
I think it makes sense for CBS and CW to do that because those networks on the whole get very different demographics. So it's nice for CBS to not just have 80-year-olds and above watching something, but also CW getting a more mature audience in there. So it worked for both of them. Plus, hey, as long as you're watching something that's not Netflix, the networks are going to be happy. All right, what's next on Twitter?
Christopher Woodburn asks, when do you guys think the solo Ben Affleck Batman film will be announced?
Ooh, the Batman. Hopefully directed by Ben Affleck, starring, yes, you got it, Ben Affleck and probably Jeremy Irons. When will it be announced? When's it going to come out? I have no earthly idea. Schnepp, do you?
I heard some rumor that it was going to replace Justice League, and they're going to start shooting the Batman like in 2 weeks. Well, I can dream. Yeah, I think it's going to probably replace Cyborg, which is April 6th, 2018 or 19. It has to be sooner than later. If they announce the Batman in 2020, look, everyone who walked out of that Batman v Superman, myself included, wanted to see the Batman next year. Like, I want to see it immediately.
Yeah.
And the longer they wait, I think, time is a click. And I mean, Ben Affleck didn't look that happy. I don't know if you saw the sad Affleck that's going around. It's a bummer. So it's one of those things where it's like, get that man his own movie and get it happening quick. I think he plays a great Bruce Wayne. He plays a great Batman. Just let's see him used properly.
Okay, so Kristian, put your studio hat on, and I'm going to present you with a problem, okay? It's because a lot of people want to see the Batman, and the Justice League is something that apparently is going to start cameras rolling
soon,
in April. So how do we get the Batman out as quickly as possible?
It's tough. Before I answer that real quick, because I see everybody saying, CBS and CW, same company. I know. What I was saying there was the fact just to see crossovers with 2 different networks is fun. Maybe it could happen with other networks. Maybe it could happen with a Fox, inside the TV and the film. I'm very aware that CW and CBS are owned by the same company.
But people forget, just because it's run by the same company, MTV and Nickelodeon are the same company, but they are separate entities.
Separate,
It's like they always say our sister company or this or that. The budgets are all separate. It's
hard to make it. It's two different teams that are working. Yeah, so
completely
it's
separate.
That's what I meant. I meant the fact that these 2 teams, albeit the same company, are able to make that work, then maybe it can cross over into other money making.
You're fired if you don't get my Batman movie off the table right now.
Sorry, here we go. So Batman. I think that I want to see Ben Affleck directing a Batman movie. I really want to see that. Personally, for me, I'm much more interested in seeing that than a Justice League movie right now. I think that I want to see Batman was the most. He was definitely the most engaging and the most interesting part of that entire movie in Batman v Superman. I loved everything with him, and I thought, and I was proven so wrong with Batman with Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought he was a great Batman, and I want to see him directed. So I would. It's money though. They're not going to stop the production on this thing now. So it's going. They're going to start shooting in 2 or 3 weeks. Now, whether or not Zack Snyder stays on, we'll see. But I still would love. It would be interesting if they brought Affleck on to direct Justice League. He'd guy would probably lose his mind. He'd have to be in the movie, and then he's got to do the same thing for Batman. But it's so many different moving parts of Justice League.
Yeah, I mean, look, Batman's my favorite superhero of all time, but I didn't love this movie. But Justice League, I'm very intrigued for what that could hold in the future.
You think Snyder's the guy to do it?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm excited to see a Justice League movie. I don't hate Snyder directing Justice League because I think that you can get better as a director. I think you can take notes from an audience, especially if you have Affleck on the team for the whole movie. You're working with Chris Terrio on the story. If you have a team in place that you trust, as long as he doesn't turn into the next Michael Bay, where he's like, every big budget movie I do, I'm going to have full control, and I'm not going to listen to anybody else's ideas. If he listens to other ideas, I think it can work well.
Mark, you just exactly explained what Batman v Superman is. You said as long as Ben Affleck's on there and he's working with the whole team and you have Chris Terrio writing a script, that's how we got this garbage film, Batman v Superman, which I liked slightly. But seeing the second time, it's just not a good movie, and I've lost faith in the idea of Zack Snyder being able to understand these characters like he should understand them and be able to add any kind of emotional weight behind them. Look, I loved Watchmen. I'm not going to apologize about any of the other films that I like that he's done. I just don't think Batman v Superman hits on any of these marks that are supposed to, and I think the script is horrible. So it's like it doesn't matter that Chris Terrio won an Oscar. He didn't do a good script on this. He didn't do a good rewrite on this. I don't know who rewrote this script, but he's writing Justice League. So I've lost faith in Chris Terrio and Zack Snyder.
So I have a question for you, though, because because we know your thoughts, obviously, on Batman v Superman here. But you really enjoyed Man of Steel.
Yes.
So in your eyes, as far as DC goes, Snyder's is DC. One for two.
Yeah.
So you don't trust him go. You wouldn't even want to see him go for that third one.
I don't think so, because I don't think his where he's going with the way he's introducing all these characters. I know it could have been a mandate from Warner Brothers, like you need to shoehorn this in. We're reverse engineering everything. We're not going to give them their own solo movies. We're just going to start out with Justice League and then have solo movies, which isn't a bad idea. But like this was supposed to be the entry level point of all these characters. Whatever. It's like it's shoehorned in a certain way. We're beyond talking about spoilers, but unfortunately, it just doesn't make me excited about Justice League because of the way that this kind of, grim and kind of lumbering film, it just, the action set pieces, sure, were exciting and fun, but because I didn't care about what's happening, it felt like I was like just watching a video game. Right. I've said it before, if I had the controls, it'd be more fun. I'm just, instead of watching some kids play a game on screen.
Okay, well, guys, don't worry. We still have Aquaman getting his own standalone movie.
And he still talks to fish.
One more Twitter question very quick. Let's do it.
Okay, Mike Waldroop asks, can we see a Mark Ellis impersonation of Kristian Harloff, please?
Hey, Kristian, I know the CBS and CW are two different guys. They're the same place. It doesn't matter. I want to see a Justice League movie with Zack Snyder.
Wait, let me do a Kristian. Look, so, all right, first of all that stuff over there is garbage, all right? Did I say that already? Listen, if you know what's going on, you already heard me say it 58 times. It's garbage, it's garbage, it's garbage. Get out of here. Shave your head, go to sleep, eat a blanket, suck on a dildo. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm Kristian Harloff. Get lost, mofos.
Here's Ellis.
Loud voice, loud.
Here's Kristian. I want a meme today. Somebody make me a meme. Hashtag schmoes now. It's a very, very fun show. Thank you, Natasha. Well, that's all the time we have on Collider Movie Talk. My name is Kristian Harloff. Over there is Mark Ellis and John Schnepp. I want to thank everybody behind the crew for tolerating our silliness and everybody joining me on the panel today. Schnepp, you're up first. Where can the kids find you?
You kids can find me by following me just at John Schnepp on Twitter and Instagram. Check out my Kickstarter, Sweaties Unite. Let's get people back into comic book stores. Support it now.
That is Kristian Harloff. Where can everybody find you?
I'm officially stealing Eat a Blanket. You can find me at Kristian Harloff, Twitter, Instagram. By the way, a lot of cool stuff here. If you didn't watch TV Talk, it was our second episode. It was up yesterday. Josh McCouga, David Griffin, Sinead DeFries, and special guest Sasha Pearl Raver were on. It was a really, really fun show. If you guys are TV fans and want to see the weekly recap on TV shows, go and check that out. And then this week, on Friday, we have Scott Mance, the Mance Man, going up against the outlaw John Roca in the second Schmodown match. These two have generally really gone after each other.
I'm gonna take him down. Oh my God, John Roca!
There's so much that these two have been talking so much smack. If you want to see and they really know their trivia. So if you want to see them go after one another, do it. John Campea and Dan Merle is up on the channel right now. There's a playlist right here. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. You got something coming up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sort of like Superman fighting Doomsday. I'm fighting Finstock, you know? But it'd be more like Batman fighting like Batmite. Yeah. And I'm Batman.
If Batmite has a beard mask, make sure when you guys tweet us about the Schmodown, hashtag Schmodown, your tweet might get read on the show. Natasha Martinez, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NatashaLexis_.
All right. Well, for all the latest box office and Showtime information, just head over to our friends at AMC Theatres. Their website is amctheaters.com. Make sure you guys bookmark collider.com. That's the movie news source that we all go to, and you should too for your latest movie news. And, of course, subscribe here to Collider Video on YouTube and Kristian and I's movie channel, Schmoes Know, also on YouTube. For everybody else here at the table, my name is Mark Ellis. You can find me on all the social media channels at Mark Ellis Live. I will be in New Orleans this Friday at the Civic Theater with my good friend Eliza Schlesinger, and this Saturday and Sunday at the Funny Bone in Columbus, Ohio. I'm off for the rest of the week, so good luck, guys.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.